Welcome to MTG Anarchy, where we take a look into the world of Magic the Gathering and throw a little bit of chaos into the mix. My name is Michael, and it's great to see you guys here watching this video. Today, we are going to be doing an episode of Rank to the Top, where we take a look into certain cards that we find may be rankable and actually rank the bejeebus out of them. Today's Rank to the Top will be focusing on Forest. That is right. We're going to be taking a look into mono green commons and uncommons that you might not expect to be playing. Of course, we're going to be focusing on specifically the creatures only, so honestly, that's where we're going to stand. Also, I don't have to give you a reason of why I'm wanting to rank these cards. I just want to rank them, and they're fun videos too. And you can suck it if you don't like this type of video. But before we jump to the video, did you guys know you can subscribe to the channel? That is right. By subscribing to the channel, you will go ahead and be able to see any new videos that will be coming out on this channel. Also, in order to keep up to date with any new videos that will come out, there is that bell notification. So hit that bell notification and subscribe to the channel to go ahead and see what comes out on later dates. But with that said, let's just get right into the video. Jumping right into the video, we are going to be going ahead and discussing about the top 5 commons and uncommons when it comes to Theros Beyond Death Forest flavor, or mono green for those who actually want to go ahead and call it by its color name. Now, when it comes to any sort of ranking video that is out there, all videos tend to have an honorable mention, and we can't necessarily do a ranking video without an honorable mention. So, with the honorable mention that I am choosing for common and uncommon creatures only, that is right, we're not going to be taking a look into enchantments, instants, artifacts, equipments, whatever, we're just looking at creatures. The honorable mention that we're going with for today is Nessian Wanderer. Now, Nessian Wanderer is a 2-drop, so 1 colorless, 1 green setter scout that has a power and toughness of a 1 and a 3, and it has constellations. So, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a land card from among them and put that card into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Now, the reason why this, and I mean this specific card, if we're going to go ahead and put it into focus, is the honorable mention, is there are a couple things that I like about it, there's a couple things that I don't. So let's focus on the pros. So first off, you can go ahead and get any land off the top, not just basic lands. So if you're trying to go ahead and get yourself a Field of Ruins or a Nykthos Shrine to the Nyx, you can go ahead and get that from the top of your library, and it's good for that. Also, you can cycle through your deck, putting things to the bottom rather than into your graveyard. That's right, if you like to go ahead and make sure things stay in the library, this is the way to go ahead and do it. And it isn't that bad of a blocker. I mean, it has a toughness of 3, so I mean, any sort of things that are just like 1-drops or 2-drops, this will go ahead and protect, even with like a 2-3 or anything like that. It's not a bad blocker. Now, the cons and why this is only the honorable mention that beat everything else for this honorable mention over the top, or everything else other than the top 5. The con is, this only happens when an enchantment enters the battlefield. And if the enchantment does not hit the battlefield, so if it casts and it gets countered, the effect does not go off. So honestly, that is why it's at its honorable mention. That is why it's still above everything else when it comes to everything there, but we still have a top 5. So honestly, this is why this is at the honorable mention. Again, our honorable mention for the video is Nessian Wanderer. Now that the honorable mention is off the list, we are going to the top 5. That is right, these are the top 5 mono green common and uncommon creatures that I've looked through within Theros Beyond Death and said, hey look, this should be on the top 5 list. So, at number 5, we have Skola Grove Dancer. That is right, this 1 colorless, 1 green enchantment creature Satyr Druid is a 2/2, and whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 1 life. Also, if you pay 2 and a green, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. Now, the reason why this is at number 5, it allows, first off, for life gain for lands going into your graveyard. So if you're doing a mill strategy and you're just having a crap ton of lands just go straight to the graveyard, this card will go ahead and give you a life per land that goes to the graveyard. So this would be good for Lord Windgrace decks that allow lands to go to the graveyard. Also, another pro is that you can go ahead and use this card to mill. So again, you can put the top card of your library into your graveyard for that 3 cost. Honestly, doing a self-mill, and if you have an infinite mana and then going for the lab man win, there you go. But honestly, that's why this is at number 5. However, the reason why it is at number 5 is because this only affects lands when it comes to life gain. I mean, milling yourself is great, having that life gain is great, However, if you're just doing it for lands and not for anything else, that's a little bit of a downfall. So you'd want to play more of a land-heavy deck on this one. But this is why this is at number 5. So, again, number 5, Skulla Grove Dancer. Now, when it comes to number 4, we all love mana ramp, we all love mana gain, and we all want to make sure that we have things out there that will help protect. So, what's not a better card than this card here? Our number 4 is Elysian Caryatid. However you pronounce that name, it doesn't matter. But this creature is 1 colorless and agreed to cast. It is a plant creature that's a 1/1, and if you tap it, you add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, add 2 mana of any 1 color instead. Now, there are good reasons of why this is at number 4, especially with mana ramp. First off, again, who doesn't love mana ramp with a creature? It's a good sort of thing. It's a good sort of source. So, mana ramp's always good. Also, this can technically produce 2 mana. And, not only that, it does not need another creature to trigger the ability. So, if you pump this specific creature up to 4/4, so if you proliferate it a couple times, or if you give it 3 more +1/+1 counters, it could trigger on its own. Now, the reason why this is at number 4 is that you do need a creature with power 4 or greater to go ahead and get 2 mana, and it's only going to consist of that 1 color. So ultimately, if you tap for 1 color, make sure you're playing like a mono deck or a probably dual color deck, but honestly, it's going to focus on 1 color in specific. But this is why it's at its number 4 cost. So again, number 4, Elysian Caryatid. As we're taking a look into number 3, have you ever felt that, hey look, insects really haven't gotten their due when it comes to Magic the Gathering? Maybe they're just all these spiders or sapperlings, which aren't necessarily insects, but I count them as some. However, this creature actually proves to be such a threat when it comes to the insect sort of decks. Let's go ahead and bring in number 3, Nessian Hornbeetle. That is right, this 1-drop or 2-drop, 1 colorless, 1 green insect 2/2 creature does the following. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control another creature with power 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on Nessian Hornbeetle. Now, ultimately, this thing can get out of hand. It can get out of control. And the reason why it's at number 3 on the list is because you can put a +1/+1 counter every combat on your turn. So honestly, as long as you're keeping this alive every combat, you could potentially put a +1/+1 counter. However, let's go ahead and look at the con on this one. You need a creature with power 4 or greater, and it has to be another creature. It cannot be the Nessian Hornbeetle itself. This one in specific, if you have 2 on the field and they both have 4/4s, they get another counter both because they go ahead and cross-examine each other like a CSI investigation sort of situation there. Cross-examining, let's go ahead and go into the courtroom. But honestly, when it comes down to this, that's the con. So again, number 3 for me, and my third pick is the Nessian Hornbeetle. We are now down to our top 2 cards in mono green that are common, non-common creatures of the Theros Beyond Death set. And honestly, number 2 actually is not that bad of a card. Honestly, if it can see play, it should see play, especially in good creature-esque decks. We're going to go ahead and say our number 2 of the mono green cycle for mono creature, common, uncommon creatures is going to be Nyx Herald. Now, why is this creature at a number 2 spot? Well, first off, let's go over it. You pay 2 colorless and a green. It's an enchantment Centaur Shaman. Enchantment creature Centaur Shaman. It's a 2/3, has power and toughness of 2/3, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, target enchanted creature or enchantment creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. Now, what does this mean for the pros of this card? Well, first off, it can target any enchanted or enchantment creature with this ability. So, it's not another creature. It can target itself. It can give itself +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. So that is not a bad ability to scoff at. Also, again, it gives +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. I mean, if you're trying to rush a opponent out, this is the way to do it. This is one of the best ways to go ahead and do it. And honestly, I don't see why people are not playing this card. However, there is a con to this. The effect only lasts until end of turn, which means once the turn ends, that effect is gone. The creature no longer gets that +1/+1 and trample, as well as it can only affect enchantment and enchanted creatures. So it can't affect any type of creature, only those that are stating specifically enchantment creatures or those creatures that are enchanted with an enchantment aura or something like that. But this is why Nyx Herald is my number 2 pick of the mono green common uncommon creatures. Now, everybody has their top pick when it comes to their specific creatures of any type of set within any given color. And for my number 1 pick, after looking through all the creatures, all the commons and uncommon creatures, I feel that my number 1 pick deserves its top spot. My number 1 pick when it comes to mono green common and uncommon creatures, Destiny Spinner. I mean, who would have doubted Destiny Spinner to be that number 1? First off, this 1 colorless, 1 green casting cost enchantment creature human is a 2/3. It says on the card itself, creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered, and if you pay 3 colorless and a green, target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until end of turn, where X is the number of enchantments you control. It is still a land. So basically, the reason why this is at number 1 is, first off, your creatures and enchantments, they cannot be countered. As long as this is on the field, your creatures and enchantments will not be countered. Secondly, this can produce an additional creature. So even though it's a land, it can produce additional creatures. Again, it gives that additional creature haste and trample, and its power and toughness is equal to the enchantment you control. So if you are playing an Enchantress deck, ultimately, you can go ahead and have this be very, very powerful depending on how many enchantments you have. Like, there's a lot of ways you can get it there. But there are some cons to this, and I hate to say it, but these cons do matter when it comes to this, although this is my number 1. First con, this only affects lands. It doesn't affect anything else with its ability. So if you wanted to go ahead and try to target a creature, sorry, you can't do that. It has to be a land. Now, if it's a land creature, like Dryad Arbor, then you could go ahead and do it because it's considered a land. But it does also, and this is my other and final con of this, it does cost 4 to activate its ability. So it costs the 3 colorless and a green to go ahead and do that ability. But honestly, this is my top pick, because honestly, it's too good not to pass up and play in any type of green deck or diversified green decks. But with that said, this comes to a close on this video. So, what did you guys think? Did you guys think that my choices were very, very valuable? Or do you think that you had a better top 5 when it comes to the common and uncommon mono green creatures? Go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you haven't already done so and you feel like this video did pretty well, like and share the video. Honestly, it's something, if people want to go ahead and get to know it, if people want to go ahead and see what this video is all about, this is a great way to go ahead and give them a little bit of a leeway. Also, like I said, go ahead, if you feel like you want to keep up with new videos that come out on this channel and everything like that, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification. But again, this has been Michael from MTG Anarchy. And I hope I've thrown a little bit of chaos and mischief into your day. Take it easy.